everybody. Welcome to the VO Dojo's monthly Q&A called Ask the Sensei. I'm Tish Hicks. I'm the Master Sensei of the VO Dojo here in Burbank, California. We are joined by our beloved Techno Sensei, Dan Lenard. Each month we invite a guest colleague of ours, and we're really excited to have my dear friend and beloved just esteemed voiceover colleague. I'm so inspired every time I talk to Dani, but Dani States is here. She is the creator, she is an extraordinary voice talent herself, and she's also the creator of VOICEOVERVIEW, which is an amazing business tracking tool for voiceover career. So we are here to answer all your questions, any of your questions, tech, soul, business. We all goes together, babies. Dani, if you wanted to, let's have Dan introduce himself, and then Dani, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you're up to. And then in the meantime, we've got some questions going on. If you're just coming on, there's a poll here, and you can say where you're calling from in the chat, and we'll start taking your questions from the Q&A part. So we've got a couple to start with. But Dan, tell us what's up with you.
Yeah, hi Tish. Hi Dani. Good to see you. My name is Dan Lenard. I'm the home studio master. I've been doing this for over 15 years, helping people set up their home studios, which, by the way, didn't exist like 15, 20 years ago. So there's
you did it before it even was a thing.
That's right. And so there are very few people that really are experts in this and have built as many home studios as I have. And there's a way it's supposed to sound, and there's a way to get it there. And a lot of it is not technical hocus pocus alchemy, rocket science. And I'm here to answer your questions on that kind of stuff.
Yay. Thank you. And Dani, tell us about you.
Yeah, well, I'm Dani States, and I live in Seattle, I've been doing voiceover full-time for 6 years. I can't even believe when I say it. I can remember when I first, it's only 6 years, so I can remember when I first started out, and I was like, oh man, I hope I make it a year. So I've been doing voiceover full-time for 6 years, and I also have a background in marketing and a background in corporate marketing. And so much of what I did prior to being in voiceover, starting my voiceover career, was, metrics and making sure that our marketing was accurate, or making sure that it was actually, providing something for the company. So when I got into voiceover, I, started thinking of that way, and right off the bat with my voiceover career, which was, like one job. So from that, I built VOICEOVERVIEW, and VOICEOVERVIEW is a way to track and manage your voiceover business. It has a CRM component, and some people get us mixed up and think that we are a CRM. We are not a CRM. We are a business tracking and management tool with a CRM component. If you don't like those big blown out CRMs, our CRM component is perfect. So
can you articulate what CRM is?
Yeah, sure.
The lingo?
You bet. Yeah, CRM, Client Relationship Management System. So there are many out there that voice actors use and that businesses use. You've probably heard of Zoho, you've heard of Nimble, you've heard of Constant Contact. Those are CRM and email management tools that only do that pretty much.
It's the communication part.
Yeah, the communication part, and kind of knowing who your clients are, or who all of your giant universe of prospects are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we don't do that. We do allow you to keep contact with your clients, but it's different than that. So
it's more about who's your contact. Are they hiring you? Here's how much money you've made with them.
Yes.
sort of
Yeah.
yeah.
Setting goals, being able to set goals, being able to see and actually see what your business is doing, as opposed to, just the marketing side of it. Because really, once you're marketing and you're actually booking work, you really need to keep track of your work.
Yeah.
I know so many voice actors who leave money on the table all the time because they don't even know whether or not they've invoiced for this job or been paid for that job, or
Right.
especially people who are entrepreneurs, not people who are, in LA managed by, giant agencies and all of that.
Well, and I think there's so many reasons to be excited to have you here, but really, not to be trite, but really now more than ever, we all need to be recognizing that we are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That it is the business, and setting things up as you mean to go. And I think it's really interesting because there's so much that's leveling about what's going on right now, in that so we've got let's look at our statistics here. So we have a bunch of people who are on the journey. It looks like a lot of people on the call are sort of halfway there. So you started and you're on your way. And so there's probably a lot of things like, what do I need to do to get started? And you have questions. There's a lot of stuff that's coming up that people who've been doing this for a really freak ass long time, like me, and maybe in a different modality, a different way that we came up doing it. There's a lot of stuff that's new. I mean, how many people have you talked to, Dan, that are like, studio, home, I go to studio, what? So a lot of people are in the same boat, whether you've been doing it for a long time or just.
Yeah, and it's interesting because people say, well, I've always gone to a studio. I'm talent. Sometimes it's like I want to reach right into the internet and grab them by the throat and say, I've always been, yeah, I know I've always been talent. And if you think that, it's this magic thing that goes on the other side of the glass, having to do it at home is not that hard. But people tend to look at it as very complex and very complicated. And it just got to learn a few basics, and then you learn from there. But yeah, a lot of people are like, my career is over because I have to do it myself. Gee, that's too bad, because you can learn it.
And I think the recognizing and evolving yourself as an entrepreneur is also one of those things, like, oh no, that's something else that you're doing, and it's a learning curve, and it's depending on where you start from, it's an adjustment, right? One of I mean, this is one of my favorite things about this pandemic.
We can have a few favorite things about it.
From the death and destruction. Yeah.
But it's been great. I mean, like, one of the things that that has been like awful and awesome about this is, people are going like, oh no, my thing, doing my bartending or doing my waiting tables. I'm like, dudes, you're not here to do that. Like, yeah, it's messed up, but let's go. Let's do what you're here to do. And breaking that habit of the service industry is like quitting smoking, and like, oh, look what the universe has done. So anyway, and it totally effing sucks as well, but it's also just these huge opportunities. So,
Tish, I would just piggyback on that, because part of my story is that I was laid off from my marketing job for the second time, and in like 4 years. And so I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to do this. Screw it. I'm just going to do it. Like, I did not know anything. I knew nothing. And, I would say that, there's whatever your propensity is, whatever your belief system is, for me, I would say, the universe just funneled me into it. And I feel like I've just been funneled through this thing crazily ever since. But, it was a great opportunity for me to go, you know what? I'm just going to focus on this. I've got unemployment for 6 months. I'm just going to do this and see what happens. And you know, I really went, you know, as my husband would say, I went balls to the wall. I mean, I did not pussyfoot around. I didn't. That's sorry. I did. I went. You know,
what you meant.
I know. Sorry. You know, I really just dove in full force, and you know, you can't kind of go in halfway. You got to just do it. But you know,
but and it's been
it worked.
great working with people. Like, what else you got to do? Like, let's do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, you know, recognizing that that is what it takes. And, you know, that it is a process. And that's the other thing that's been really interesting, because a lot of people, you know, in April we did the Broadway Community Guerrilla Guide to Getting Started in Voiceover, like creating an opportunity for people whose shows shut down, like, here, let's do this. And it's so funny because, you know, all the time we're saying, no, everybody, performers, everybody, you really should have this in your arsenal, your money-making arsenal. And now it's like, everyone's like, oh yeah, I should do that. It's like, so it's great to have this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, why don't we open it up to some questions here? Richard asks if you have I guess so great. I'm assuming
Yeah, I think it's
a great experienced theatrical voice, which is trained by years of stage theater experience. How would you break into voiceover? I'll speak to that. I'll speak to that because I have a great, experienced, theatrically trained, opera trained voice, and it has been the foundation of everything. And as I work with people who have these things, one of the first things that it really is about is breaking that down. So that you have it is your superpower, and that we lead with it is a great is a little kryptonite. So I would say, from my experience, it will serve you if you know your instrument and you can do things with your instrument and you understand how it works and what your possibilities are, and the fullness of being able to access the orchestra of your voice. That is fantastic. A lot of it is going to be calibration to this medium, in the same way that we calibrate from stage to on camera. We just take it down. We take it down another notch. And the other thing that I'll say in a nutshell, one of the foundational principles of the dojo is that voiceover is communication, and communication is an exchange of vibrational energy. That's it. And a lot of that is just connecting with ourselves and then sharing that on a very, very simple, and it can be quiet. You know, I'm in this booth, and I just have to say this, and we're right here. So it's being able to calibrate your tools in different ways, and then calibrate your relationship with yourself. A lot of times when I'm working with people, and two sides of this, and I'll stop talking because I want to hear. But this is like a thing. This is a thing. So on one side of this is people come, oh, I don't have any acting experience. I'm like, that's okay. You've been a human all this time, right? So you got what you need because you can share that experience. Those of us who have great experienced theatrical training have spent a lot of time. We're like bodybuilders of it. Like, yeah, I'll do characters. Yeah, I'll do, you know. And a lot of times what I find is the people who don't have acting experience, we just build those muscles and get that discipline and open your mind and your heart to thinking like this. And those of us with great experience theatrically, a lot of the work is dealing with that part of us, like that a lot of people come to the place like, oh yeah, just be me. That's why I got into theater, because I don't really want to be me. I don't like my voice. So honor it and come back to beginner's mind as you step into this meeting. That's my soapbox. How about you guys?
Yeah, the thing that I gravitated to immediately when I worked with you, and in just hearing you speak right now, is like that relationship with yourself. Like, you know, you have to be so comfortable with yourself. And I know for me, over the 6 years that I've been doing this that so much. I used to never be able to do a commercial or anything just like this. I always had to put on. I always had to get my voice on, and it worked. I actually booked a lot of work doing that, but it wasn't my voice. So, and I still book a lot, with a very young voice, but it's not necessary. It's one facet of me and one facet of my voice. So being comfortable with yourself is so huge.
And then being able to calibrate is what
being able to calibrate. Yeah.
Okay, what is needed. Okay, I can.
Yep.
Any thoughts, Dan? You have
Plenty. Especially from a theater perspective, since I came out of theater too, and broadcasting and a lot of other things. But I think a mistake a lot of people make when they first get into it, people coming out of radio and people coming out of theater, is they tend to overproject. They tend to be very, very loud and deliberate in their delivery, and they forget that voiceover itself is not a mass, speech to a lot of people. It's a one-on-one communication. And and generally there's a couple of reasons for this. One, we use our indoor voices when we talk to each other, when we communicate with each other on a one-to-one basis. From a theater metaphor, it's almost like you're sitting in a theater before the curtain goes up, and you're sitting next to your significant other or whoever is sitting next to you. And you don't want your conversation to go everywhere. You're talking to people individually, and you can turn to people and say, I think I left my keys in the car. It's not a whisper, but that's how we talk to each other. And that's how we talk to each other in that little span of space that we discuss things in. From a technical perspective, when you overproject or when you push too hard with your voice, a pile of bad things happen. Sibilance, mouth noise. It also reveals the acoustical signature of the room. When we talk quietly, our voice doesn't bounce around that much. But if we start talking louder, you suddenly hear the size of the room, and it affects the acoustics. And acoustics is probably the prime problem that most people have when they're setting up their home studio. So, unless you're doing some ninja character in a video game or something, you really don't have to project very loud. It's a one-to-one intimate conversation with people when you're reading copy, unless otherwise specified.
Yeah.
So, I think, we've gone on with Richard's question here for a while, but theater is great for acting. It's great for audiobooks. Someone like Scott Brick, who is a trained Shakespearean actor, he's the one that shows you got to be a good actor to do that type of work. But for straight voiceover, it's communicating one-on-one with people. And
that's
you've got
a great distinction. Good. Excellent. Let's see. We got lots of questions now. Yay! It's okay. Sarah asks, for someone just starting out without representation, what are the first steps you take to begin to establish a VO business for yourself? This is an interesting question. You want to take that one first, Dani? Oh, we need to unmute.
Oh, yeah, I guess I need to unmute.
Voiceover professional.
Yeah. So the first steps to take really are to invest in yourself and get coaching. Like very first, like there's nothing you should do. You should not try to do a demo. You should not, try to get on a pay to play. You should not do anything until you've had some coaching. The reason I say don't get on a pay to play, I mean, you could get on a pay to play, but without any coaching, you're not going to know what to do at all, and you'll just be wasting your money. So, coaching is the first thing. And, there are so many great, reputable coaches, organizations.
There's part of the dojo.
There's the VO Dojo. I was going to say that very first. So that's the first thing.
I think the great thing. So yes, we all need to be entrepreneurs. We also need to have a business. So I think a great way to think about this is one of the exercises that I do with brown belts in the dojo is go, okay, so if you were starting a brick and mortar business, first of all, pick something you love, because when you're running a business, you know what you do all the time is run the business. And you know what you do all the time is think about the business. And it's like having a baby, right? So so pick something, what would be a brick and mortar business that you would start, and then start thinking through um, what you would need to do. So it doesn't matter if you have a, in some ways you can start with a business plan or hire, blah, 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 or blah. We can, and we should early on. But if you're starting a lemonade store, then make sure you have some lemons and some sugar, and where's your water coming from, and how are you going to, like, you got to have a product and understand your product and understand how to deliver it consistently. Because if you make one batch of lemonade, that's really good, and then you're like, how did I do that? I don't know. That so the first steps are so always having the mindset that you're starting the business, and then get your product, understand your product, understand what your product is in the marketplace, right? That's, and then make sure, one of the things we say at the dojo is breaking into voiceover. You need to be able to get on the highway going 85 miles an hour with people who've been driving Autobahn for 25 years. Can you do it? Yes, people do it every single day. People happen to find themselves on the Autobahn. We call that the helicopter coming, but that's mixing metaphors. Yeah, so it happens all the time, but then you got to be able to keep up. So I think it's and that is what we do at the dojo. It's like, look, there's a natural progression, guys. Everyone's going to be on it. To get from I don't know to working pro, there's a thing that happens, and sometimes it goes like you come here first, but then you have to go back and figure out how you got there, right? So making a decision, right? Opening your awareness, exploring and understanding yourself to prepare for your tools, right? Create your product. That's your demo preparation. Demo production, then integration. Once you have this thing to bring to market, then how do you integrate it? How do you integrate it for yourself, right? And then keep on driving, right? So so the first step is create a product. That's what I'd say. Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
I answer that?
Of
Yeah.
course you
I,
can.
I think it's really important for people to understand that representation is not what most people think it is. That representation is another part of the business. And if you're starting out, an agent is not the one that's your key to success. Your key to success is you. And that an agent, agents are inundated with auditions and, hey, please represent me and that sort of thing. What I have found is you don't go looking for an agent. They're going to come looking for you. If you're successful, if you've done all the other steps that you were talking about, Tish and Danny, if you're successful, if you're making money, they'll follow the money, as anybody does. And if you're successful, if you're a voice actor that books, they'll come find you. Generally they're pretty busy. They don't necessarily want to invest the time in developing you as a voice actor, because trust me, they don't make as much money on voice acting as they do on Tom Cruise. It's as simple as that.
Except for now, because that's the only thing that's open.
Well, exactly.
Good point, Tish.
Yeah, I mean, and that certainly is the case. But generally, they're going to come find you. So your emphasis is getting to be a much better voice actor that books work, and you don't book work necessarily by having an agent. So that's
and it's a combination. I think this is where everyone's in. Like, which market are you in? What does your voice? Where does your voice serve? How how is that going to serve you? You always think of getting representation. I always think of it as like in this car metaphor. Once you've built your car, pimped your ride, who are you going to choose to get you to the destination? Who's going to help you navigate where you want to go? That's the way to be thinking about it. And sort of segueing into Tara's question, is it vital to be considered for bigger jobs? I'm sorry, her question is, do you have recommendations for finding a voiceover agent? And is it vital? It does give you access to bigger jobs in general. just because people with bigger jobs have bigger stakes and, have the infrastructure to, do things union and have the residual. Like um, I'm working on a new campaign for Workday, and the creative director said, they're a great company. They're taking really good care of their people during all this, and the buy is already scheduled out. So if there's a lot that goes into bigger jobs, and people think it through in a bigger way. So the people that will be able to come in and serve that probably are working at a certain level, et cetera, right? But also, shit happens, and 23-year-olds run advertising agencies now too. So there's not any set way of how it goes, and nothing against 23-year-olds. Rock and roll, man. Like this is great. So there's kind of ways that things work. So yeah, and then everything is the tagline for the VO Dojo Pro Fight Club, our working pro workout that brings together top-notch talent and decision makers who hire us, is it's who you know, and not in a bitchy or disdainful or bitter way. It's just it's who you know. So if you know somebody who knows the agent, or somebody, or even better, who do you know that is someone the agent would like to know? I say Melanie's on this a call. She's a dojo member. She knows somebody who happens to be a part of her family, who happens to be producing something and happens to have created an opportunity for her. She also happens to be really freak ass good and ready for the opportunity. But that's a great thing. Hi, I've got a animated feature that I'm working on with this producer. And would you like to talk to me? Yes, I would. So how do you bring the things that will help the agent be better agent for you and better agent for everybody? Right? So yeah, I think that's good. Be freaking good and get to know people. And hopefully that's not glib. Yeah. Now this is a really interesting question from Mia. We're talking about everyone being in different states of new evolution from the way the world is going on. But Mia says, I'm a full-time working VO, mostly commercially. 99% of work was studio and through reps. Working entirely from home, work has declined and want to expand. Particularly, any tips on marketing, especially e-learning and corporate?
That is a Dani States question, if ever
Yes,
there was
yes.
one.
Like so in so many ways. Yeah.
Well, I have to say that I don't do a ton of marketing anymore. So yeah, I really don't. I did well. Most of my early day marketing was through pay to plays. Just auditioning through pay to plays. So that's There are people who do a ton of direct marketing. There are people who do the League of List Builders and all of those marketing different programs. There's all these different programs out there, and people follow different people, right, to learn how to do it. But I don't do any of that really. I will. I don't have an answer for that, honestly.
Well,
I
I think you
feel
do.
bad saying that, but
I think you might have it more than you think, Dani, and I think also because it's kind of what you do naturally. Like, so I think the two things that I'm hearing in what you're saying are, A, what you're really saying is it's really doing good work and then staying in relationship is how you've built your
okay.
business,
There you
right?
go. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
so if you I think um one of my dear friends is an amazing coach, and she talks about networking or marketing as just getting to know people.
Right.
So
Right.
if you switch that marketing as some like woo, thing. So it's being clear with who you are. And then, if you go to Dani's site, she has fantastic, really super clear branding that's memorable and captures the essence of her. So you get a clear idea of what is this I'm working, right?
She's kind of a goofball.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah.
But so tips on marketing is, and this is where you're coming from when you're used to, if you're used to having a driver, it's really confusing when you have to find the street signs yourself. Right, because if you're used to having an agent, it's like, here's these 10 auditions today. Okay, here you go, just do them. You've been driven, right? So what if you reverse engineer? What if you had to be your own agent? What if you or the agent had to get these opportunities and build the relationships with, well, who's the person that the agent's talking to?
I think it's also important to understand that this is an entrepreneurial business. This is, if you're trying to get into voiceover to be a star in commercials, you're really barking up the wrong tree, unless you've got some really unique talent that is in demand out there, or a very unique voice that would be in demand. People making a living in voiceover today are doing e-learning and all these things that Mia was talking about. And that's usually a matter of, like we used to do in the life insurance business, and that's make cold calls, or doing, an email campaign, or those sorts of things where you've got to contact people, follow up. You call a production company or any company that has anything online, and you say, from a totally gender neutral position, who's the person that does your training videos? Who's the person that does your promotional stuff? And you do the networking. It's not going to happen naturally, and it's not going to happen overnight. And you're the one that's, like you were saying, Tish, you're the driver. And if you're successful at that, and as the more you do, the better you get at it, then you can see that, you might start to get representation. But agents are not going after the majority of the bulk of work that is available out there. Commercials are the little tiny percentage of what's going on in voiceover.
And that's why we need to think of the whole thing, the more diversified we are.
Exactly.
Well, and I would say too, to Mia and to anybody who's in Mia's position, the first thing you need to do is get a nice home setup. It doesn't have to be, so I'm in a vocal booth. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a great closet that's got some nice soundproofing and, some sound treatment. And, but if you want to work, you've got to be able to record from home. Like that's the bottom line right now. If you want to be able,
she's working entirely from home.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many awesome layers to your question, Mia, because there's that first thing. Like I have to say, I had a little Source Connect scramble the first couple of weeks. I had to wait in line and go make sure everything's okay. And it was like, yeah, and then it's not as big a deal. And I think then just even the way you're thinking is awesome. I'm going to expand my business and I'm going to do it. So that's great. And then you recognize, oh, there's all these different ways. Then I think if you put yourself in the mindset of the client, what would I be looking for? So if e-learning and corporate video is something you're interested, do you have the tools to, do you have demos that show that if someone's interested in hiring you, that you do that and you specialize it and you understand it, and here's a sample of my voice doing that. So that's one layer, obviously. And then if you had brownies to sell, who needs brownies, right? And then you go, great, who needs brownies? Neighbors, stoned people, like who needs this, right? And then how do you start building relationships? And then also talk to people who are doing it and just cut to the chase, right? How do you do it? Or yeah. So hopefully, I mean, it's interesting. I think probably the crux here is continuing to recognize that you're driving the car, and then how do you do that? Hopefully that's helpful. Let us know. These top questions have been so full. Let's and lots of layers to them. But everything about this has lots of layers to it. Oh, this is interesting. What is the usual time between completed job and getting paid? Is there too early to inquire on payment if it's delayed past the usual time between completion and payment? Oh, this is great. Like, this is setting a business structure. So
I can answer that.
yes. Yay.
I can answer that. So for me personally, if it's a client if it's a brand new client, I will wait, after I've invoiced, I will wait 30 days. If I have not been paid within 30 days, then I will reach out and just say, hey, I'm thinking this might have gotten buried, and it's always, I can say, I've had clients, I've a client in particular that I've done work with for a long time, who generally pays on time, has been stringing me out for months. And not once have I ever been like, hey, you better cough up. It's always very gentle and very kind, because I know they're going to pay me. So you want to give them 30 days. And if it's a client that pays within 15 and they've strung out further, it's okay after you've worked with them for a while, it's okay to reach out after 15. Say, hey, normally these get paid pretty quickly. What's happening? Maybe it got lost. But yeah,
especially now, make it, like who knows what everyone's trying to
exactly
figure out.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, 30 days is probably good. And then as far as invoicing, when do you invoice? Like some people invoice right away. Some people invoice after 3 or 4 days. Some people set a day and invoice like every Friday, for example. I kind of am all over the board about that, but I will, with some clients, I'll invoice right away because I know they like that. And then others, I will usually wait like 3 or 4 days to make sure that there's not something that's going to come back and they want, some extra tweaks or have changed the script, etc.
Yeah. And the layers that I hear there are, you're running a business, so you're setting your terms. So you articulate, this is net 30 days?
My invoices all say due on receipt.
Oh, okay, great.
But I still give them 30 days.
Okay.
And then I have a few clients who say it's net 30, and then that invoice says net 30. We've adjusted to that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But once again, you're running the business, you're setting the terms.
Yes.
And then, if there's exceptions, that's the thing. And the other thing that I hear, this is what happens, something like voice overview, is there's you understanding, creating your workflow. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 layers to that. There's the workflow of how are you doing all your auditions and how are you getting all your jobs done, and then there's the workflow of the business part, which, when you've had an agent, is very much like, I don't know nothing about birthing babies. I just do it, sign the thing, and then I get the money. Like what? So it's once again just deconstructing a little bit. And saying, oh, I'm the business owner. I see. I think about all these things.
Yeah. And one thing about voice overview, just as a shameless plug, but one thing about voice overview is that, so when I mark a job as invoiced, it will remind me in 30 days if I haven't been paid for it, if I haven't marked it as paid. And I can't tell you how many times I've been like, oh God, they haven't paid me yet. Oh, okay. And then reached out and gotten paid, pretty much immediately. So it's a great way. It's a great way to stay on top of that really easily.
Yeah. And then I love that at the heart of it is building relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And good bookkeeping.
And
if you don't understand that stuff, you really shouldn't be in business.
No, it's really true. And as someone who loves making money but doesn't like keeping track of it, that's something that, like advice to graduating seniors. Figure that out. Figure out what is the shape and what are those things, and have those things in place.
Yeah.
Good. Sadie, what percentage of your income comes from VO? I would say it's kind of 50-50 with voiceover and Dojo now, because I'm a voiceover artist and I'm a voiceover educator. So I think probably about half and half now. And then I think also you need to ask somebody. You ask people at different stages of their journey, Because if you asked Dani what percentage of her, if you ask someone at 1 year, that's different than 3 years, that's different than 6 years, that's different than 20 plus years, right? And also, it's not like you arrive and then it just stays there. Ideally it is, you're always striving to that, but there's, there's volatility, but that's another reason for voiceover. How about you guys?
Well, I mean, right now with all the studios shut down, I'm busier than a one-armed paper hanger. I mean, it's everybody's got to have a home studio, even though we've been preaching and telling people that for the last 10, 15 years. Suddenly, as we were saying earlier on, now you have to. And so I've been very, very busy consulting with people and teaching them one-on-one how to do this, because every studio, every room is different, every voice is different. Every home studio really needs to be custom, really built around that person. And that doesn't mean, windows, a couch, guitars and gold records hanging on the wall, and a 32-track, mixing board. So much simpler to that, and so many people are intimidated. So I've been busy holding people's hands, which I don't really like doing. I like teaching people and getting them where they need to be, and that's taking up a lot of my time. But I get work all the time from the clients I have, and they always take priority when something comes in, out the door, and that's and that's how it is.
And I think one of the other things I'll say, and then Dani, I look forward to hearing you, because you shared how you started going like, all right, this is how I'm doing it. One of the other things, I think that you're always looking at this in context of creating the whole thing. We're creating a sphere. It's not just a So like when I started, things clicked pretty well, but it was still a couple of years. I got on the track, or to the trout pond, in terms of the doing the work to get the agent, to get the work. But I had an assistant job, and I think the more that you just know that anything that you're doing is fueled toward, is the rocket fuel, is the reason, that is because it's towards your voiceover. I started a graphic design company, and then it started segueing, right? But anything that you're doing is to serve and to create a structure that serves you doing your voiceover, then it will evolve, right? So there's and you can also, different people have different things. Some people have spouses that take care of a bunch of stuff, so you only need it to do this, or you have different things, or Dan, you have an expertise. That's involved, and that is part of your, it's part of your voiceover income, because it's about voiceover, right?
Right.
What's your take, Dani?
Well, so 100% of my income is voiceover, and start getting laid off from a 6-figure marketing career for a second time. My income was super low, for 2-3 years, building up. But it has always, since I jumped in, it was always voiceover. I just made that commitment, and it was pretty painful. I'll just say that with fear in my eyes. It was pretty painful for, the first year for sure. Second year was like, oh, okay, maybe. Third year was like, oh, okay, definitely. Yeah, it's always been voiceover.
And you also had an expectation that you were like, this is how much money I need to make.
Yeah.
How much money I expect to make. And so how do I make that much money doing this?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's also different. People have different things that they need and want, but the more clear you can be about that, that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew exactly what I needed to make in order to do this full time. I knew what I needed to make, to contribute to the household, because we are a 2-income household. So, yeah.
Yeah. Nadia asks, how soon is too soon? How soon is too soon to start thinking about making a voiceover? Oh, you can think about it all the time. You should be thinking about it all the time. You should be thinking about it every day, and you should be going, ooh, I think, I like that. I'm gonna find some copy to put on my reel. So you should be thinking about it all the time. Here's the barometer we use at the dojo. Are you able to pick up any piece of copy that's put in front of you at any point and nail it without coaching within 1 or 2 takes? That's a good barometer. Any piece of copy that's put in front of you and get to a great take 1 within 1 or 2 takes. That's a good thing. The key to anyone who's kind of anyone who has a modicum of anything that they're bringing can walk into a good demo producer's place and have a good demo eked out of them. The game is, can you deliver the next day? Boom, boom, boom. Are you ready to roll? Because you can have a great demo. So it's thinking about it, and it's a little like a gestation period, and everyone's got their own. So it's a combination of that and confidence. How confident are you? Are you like, yeah, okay, great. One of the things that we talk about at the dojo, I call it, this is a little dated reference now, but I call it the Don Draper moment. And it happens when you're about to cross the threshold. Well, crossing the threshold into making your demo is a little bit more like losing your virginity. Because how do you know you're ready? I don't know. I'm thinking about it all the time, but how do I know? And who's the right person? And and it's kind of, no one can tell you until you do it. And there's a little bit of that, like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm totally. So there's that, I think, crossing the demo, and then the thing, like when you're going out into the world, when we have your demo, what we look for is the Don Draper moment, where you're like, yeah, I'm going into a meeting at William Morris. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. That's good. And obviously inside there's still that. So I think it's a combination of understanding what is required, understanding that you are able to deliver that, and then having confidence and clarity. And you always want to be a little bit ahead. You want to be training 2 levels, showing 2 levels below that you're training. If that makes sense. That's a dressage reference. But so I don't know. What do you guys take on that? Oh, and oh, wait, hold on. One more reference. You can make your demo anytime, just like you can have, you can be excited to have your baby. You could totally have your baby induced at 6 months. Like it's visceral, but it gets at a point, like, I don't know, is the baby ready? I don't know. And so, yeah, okay. I'll stop with the metaphors. Go ahead.
Yeah,
you are the queen of metaphors. Can I just say that? My God, I just listen and I go, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a run for your money. Speaking of metaphors, if you're working with a coach, they'll know. It ain't up to you to really decide. It's when somebody who has expertise in this says, I think you've got it. Somebody like Tish, or, I direct people and I'm like, you're just not connecting with the copy. You got to keep working with it, and you got to keep working with the coach to get that. And back off your voice, and you make these adjustments and stuff like that. Really, it's a matter of how directable are you, knowing yourself and being able to change up based on instructions, and the ability to self-direct, which is really is what separates the wheat from the chaff in this business. If you can conquer that, learn how to break down copy and do it consistently every time, as Tish said, that's going to be, when somebody says, okay, you can do that, then you're ready. Because if you send a demo out there when you're not ready, it may be the last demo you ever send out. So.
Mm-hmm. Can I add on to that too? And that, I think the key is when somebody actually says that a coach, a reputable coach actually says that you're ready, and not that you've gone through a
Weekend.
A weekend course, or you did a thing at the community college, and now you did a weekend thing at a community college, and now you're doing a demo, or you buy a package of 6 classes, and at the end of this 6 classes you produce a demo. That's not it. Like some people, I did my first demo after 8 months, and that I would not recommend that. I actually was in a place where I was ready to do that, but not everybody is. Some people need coaching for longer. Some people need less coaching. Some people just, come out of the voiceover womb to take your metaphor, just pop out of the voiceover womb and they're, just walking and talking right away, So,
But I think
it's such an individual journey. It's not a package journey.
Yeah, and I think in general, like, start thinking about it 6 months in, keep on checking in. How's that going? Is the cupcake ready? Start thinking about it 6 months. Between 9 and 12 months, you should have something going and I would start going like, and if you don't have something going, not that there's any, that's fine. Maybe you're an elephant instead of a puppy, right? Maybe it's just a 2-year gestation period to get where you need to. And it's really also, it goes back to the car metaphor too. What game are you entering, right? Which are you going for the Autobahn? Are you, going down a country road? Both totally valid. You can make money on surface streets for sure. So that's another way to think of it. But if you're going for the Autobahn, then I'll share this story and we should probably start wrapping up. One of the most powerful moments of my voiceover career, which has gone for 20 plus years, in a pretty awesome way. When I said for the first time, I think I'm ready to make my demo. I've been working. I think I'm ready. So I went to work with a producer, Cindy Akers, actually, and she did the best thing for my career because we did a coaching and she said, you are 98% ready and I am not going to produce your demo. And I was like, oh. And she said, because you need to be 110% ready. You need to be 130% ready. Mm-hmm. And that is how you're going to get in the game. Then, having done that and having done all the work, she was able to put a call in for me to get me into a class that was a working pro class that, then it was because I had done the work and built a relationship and was good enough that someone would go like, here, let me make a call. Okay. Now go to the place that you're going to be working at a level that you're going to be on the Autobahn. Like, you want to drive? Here, drive. And then I went back to the drawing board for 6 months and then came out with a demo that place that I had done the working pro stuff with used it as an example of like, this is what a demo is, right? This is what it can and should be. So I think that's sort of the journey. Oh my gosh, there's so many more questions here, guys.
There were a couple. There was one tech question in there, and then there was a couple others. One of those.
Yeah, why don't we breeze through see if there's anything, and then I want to have everyone to have a couple seconds to talk about how to stay in touch and what you have coming up and how you're available to help people. So yeah, let's breeze through a couple of questions.
Well, there's one here from Chad K. Who says, is there a reason some people place their microphones upside down? Does direction the mic is pointed in matter? Well, as you see, Dani and I and Tish all have it positioned that way, so that must be the right way. The reason is very, very simple, and I'll do this quickly since we're short on time. But there's a pickup pattern to the microphone that is not this. It's a cardioid pattern, but people don't understand that it's a hemisphere. That it's really the whole mic. So I can talk to this side, I can talk to that side, I can talk underneath, I can talk in the middle. But if I talk directly into the diaphragm and go Peter Piper, picked a peck of pickled peppers, you get plosives. So generally, we hear on the same plane as our eyes. So if you look into the diaphragm directly, have it at eye level, and talk underneath it, you can go, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, and you don't need a pop screen, which is this huge distraction that's like, I'm on a microphone. If you can get the microphone out of your field of view and concentrate on the copy, that helps a whole lot. Gives you room to gesticulate. It gives you the room to do those things and see your copy clearly and hear you the way other people hear you. Is that a quick answer?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
And also, I learned that from Dan. So,
well, then it must be right.
You know, then it must be right. Good. Any other like things we can pop off? I'm gonna say, let's see, and I have to look at my schedule. I think I usually spend a couple of. Oh, actually, no, I've got a hard out. So,
as do I.
Yeah. So why don't we do this? Why don't we, if you didn't get your question answered, why don't you email us? So why don't each of us tell everybody how to keep in contact? Dan, what's the best way to keep in contact with you?
The best way is at homevoiceoverstudio.com, as it says underneath my name there. And I've got my services listed there. Got the specimen collection cup so I can listen to your audio for $25 and give you a full analysis. If you need lots of help, we can fix that. But if you go over there, you can contact me from there.
And you can work virtually with a home studio consult from where?
Everywhere, and I have.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, and the awesome thing about Dan is that he's really no bullshit. He's really what's the most essential, effective way to get this done. So it's really
appreciate that.
Yeah. Dani.
Yeah. So I just typed both of my contacts in there. So if you have a question about voiceover and, have any questions about my particular journey, I'm happy to share. And you can reach me at Dani@DaniStates.com. And if you have questions about VoiceOverview, you can reach me at info@voiceoverview.com. If you are interested in trying out the program, we do offer a 30-day free trial. You subscribe, you get 30 days. We are one of the few. We will email you a week before your trial is over to say, hey, do you love us? Do you love us? Stay with us. If you love us, don't do anything. If you don't love us, it's okay. Here's how you unsubscribe. Mm-hmm. So we make it very easy for you. So if you want to subscribe, you get a 30-day free trial. If you want to check us out, go to voiceoverview.com. And you'll see a create account right there. It'll walk you through the creation process, and you'll be able to see it in action. I do send a little tip email, and I'm always available for questions. So, yeah. Somebody did ask me. Somebody did ask one thing. They asked, I said I make all my money from voiceover. I do. Every little bit of subscription money that we get, and we have quite a few subscribers now, but every bit goes into an account and it stays there and it's going back into development. So we don't take an income from that at all. It's all there just for development. Yeah.
Great. So. And then Dani's also based in the Pacific Northwest, if that is of interest. I think knowing that market is, knowing someone who works in that market is interesting. And then for Dojo stuff, all things Dojo, www.thevodojo.com. We have so much awesome stuff. So first of all, you can always put this on your calendar. The first Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. Pacific time is Ask the Sensei. Always fantastic people and resources here. We have a fantastic summer program that is going on. We are offering our You Should Do voiceover intensive in a do-it-yourself form, which makes it available for about a third of the price. So you get the video course of the You Should Do voiceover intensive that I recommend even if you're on your journey. It just gives another perspective, another way of thinking about things, and maybe filling in gaps. It can complement and supplement what you already have, or shake up or give you just another point of view. And if you're beginning your journey, it's really designed to lay foundations so that you're thinking and experiencing like a VO pro from the beginning. And we have launched our Corona VO camp which is a weekly workout that's going to be running throughout the summer, June, July, August. The prerequisite is do it yourself, or having been in You Should Do voiceover previously. And we basically have any level. We have sleeping bag level for $50, which you can come twice a month to a workout. Tent is $75 a month, two workouts a month, and a community call. So that would be like an even more intimate group of this, just the people who are in Corona Camp. Cabin is $100 a month for a weekly workout and the community call, or you can do deluxe cabin for $200 a month. So we know that this is an amazing time of opportunity in having time to focus and say what's important and what you're going after. And also, things are perhaps financially not where they could be. So we really, basically, wherever you are in your journey, Dojo has something that will help you get to the next place you want to go. If you're working pro, talk to us about Nth Degree, talk to us about fight clubs. Everyone can audit our fight clubs. Everything's virtual now. So let's see, Renee Johnson from Disney Character Voices is coming up June 11th. She's freaking amazing. And you can audit for $29. So check out the dojo. So much good stuff. If you're interested, touch base with us. You can sign up for a voiceover once over anytime. And Diana Suko is our talent support, and she's available. All right. All right, guys. Dani, thank you so much for joining us. Dan, so good to have you here.
Toodaloo.
Yes, come back next month. Come play with us this summer. And we are all here for you as resources.